All right, how's it going, my magnificent sons of bitches? I'm here once again with Wadihi Giardini.
But yeah,
I butcher your name, yeah. I always butcher the man's name. I'm getting better at it though, I think. But
yeah, you're
yeah,
improving.
yeah, we're here live again. This is on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, all of my social media platforms. If you come across this video, yeah, and I'm starting to try and do a little bit more. If the more you do it, the more your videos will get trafficked and whatnot. But yeah, we basically you can go ahead and introduce yourself. I have the links. I want to go ahead and say this at the beginning of the video. I have the links for my Twitter, his what he's Twitter, and his book about the new wave of liberalism. You can go ahead and get it at Amazon. The links are in the description.
The
But go ahead
liberal
and introduce
genius.
yourself because you're on
Yes,
all my platforms.
thank you again, Michael, for having me. It's a pleasure as always. And my name is Wadia Jraidini. It's a tough name, but I'm doing my best. Basically, I've started my career. Besides my usual career, the thing that actually makes me money because I mean my profession is a salesman. I'm a salesman. I work in the printing industry, in the publication industry, and however during that time I began to write. I used to be a leftist liberal. That's how I started my career. I was a leftist liberal. I'm sure Michael would have loved me back then. So during that time,
Well, to
during that
be
time,
honest with you, man, liberalism was a little bit different back then too, because back then, I would have probably been considered a liberal back then, technically. But most Christianity came from liberalism anyway. So I mean, like liberalism actually came from Christianity anyways. So
actually, yeah, you can consider it this way in a sense, in a certain sense. Unfortunately, we cannot really put this as a gauge, liberalism in itself as a gauge, because the moment we started to identify the term liberalism, it was already leftist. As a concept, it
right.
was already leftist ever since. And the first time really we began to identify liberalism was during the French Revolution. Liberté, égalité, fraternité. Those are the three terms in French. Liberty, fraternity, equality. So the French Revolution itself was the prelude of all leftist ideologies. And even the concept of the left started during the French Revolution when they wanted the parliament to see who was going to be a loyalist. He should sit on the right, and who is opposing to the king should sit on the left. And ever since that time, the people who are on the left were considered the liberals, and this is how the concept began. So really, the thing is, Michael, we need to pay attention to this. Is that we have really stopped viewing the left for what it really is, because there are so many degrees of left right now. What we perceive today as right wing is actually also left wing, but a slightly lesser degree of left wing, but it's also left
Yeah,
wing.
and that's what I tell like these people that come out that are particularly commies. It's like you can't sit there and say that the Nazis were a right wing extremist because they are pro state. The right wing would be the anarchist. You know what I'm saying? Completely no government. That's exactly what, if you're going to have a paradigm, you can't have a paradigm of uh, a, a little bit of tyranny and a lot of tyranny. That can't be your paradigm. It's either no tyranny or complete anarchy. Those are the paradigms. So what you're
Correct.
talking about when you're talking about the left-right paradigm, it's completely, a facade, basically. But we
That
came
is so
here,
true.
yeah, we got a few subjects that we want to go ahead and talk about. And of course, you and I both go back and forth with atheism, secularism, transhumanism, the neo wave of liberalism. We come back at it from a Christian perspective where, you know, uh, it's very, very weird because these people that are leftists, that are complete secular, that'll take total advantage of any kind of constitutional rights that they're giving. The right to free speech, the right to bear arms, all these rights do not come from the government, they come from God. And so,
Absolutely.
right. And one of the things, and, I told you this is one of the things I sent to you on Twitter and whatnot that figured that this would be a good topic for us to touch on, was the Christian influence on society, as a whole. And, you go through it, we go through all the world powers, right? From Egypt, then you have the Babylonians, you have the Persians, you have all of these empires relied on a certain type of faith to end up being able to be considered world empires. It's funny how they were all kind of blessed. They were blessed because you could say what you will about the Mongolian Empire and all these other empires that claim, oh yeah, these empires are bigger. Bigger doesn't necessarily mean better. Those empires that we're talking about that are world empires had more influence on the world. They had more development, more technology. They were more advanced, like as a civilization. They were ultimately blessed because and they all have one key thing in common, and that was having Christianity. They had the Christians, whether you want to call them the Hebrews at the time, whatever they want, they had God's people in that country.
That's interesting. You're saying it in a way that you're really trying to find the general theme. Let me tell you another thing, Michael, that's really interesting also. Where is the bastion of civilizations in the ancient world? It's the Middle East, of course. This is the Middle East is the bastion. It's the hotspot of all the civilizations in the ancient world ever since the Bronze Age, and even in the Iron Age, you find all the major civilizations there. Even the Roman Empire itself was focused on the Middle East because, Rome was in Italy, that's in Central Europe, the middle of the Mediterranean Sea. However, even Rome's focus was towards the Middle East because there you had Greece. It's a little bit further from the Middle East, but its influence is all over the Middle East as Greece. You have on the other side, you have Egypt, and then you have Asia Minor, which is now today Turkey. It used to be Asia Minor, and then you have all the Levant region, which included the Phoenicians, which is basically us, modern. Well, technically not really us, but we are somehow their descendants. You had the Syrians. You had of course, you had the Hebrews, the Jews, and of course, over a little bit further to the east, you had the Babylonians, you had the Assyrians, you had the Persians, the Medians. All of these really were major players on the world scene ever since the Bronze Age, with the Egyptians, the Phoenicians, and the early Greeks. Towards the Iron Age, also the Greeks, the Babylonians, the Persians, and then the Romans. But with all of that, all of these empires, especially if we want to really look right now, if we want to focus on the Iron Age, especially because this is where the empires really grew and became very powerful. The most significant empire by far, by a very, very, very wide margin, is the Roman Empire. Nobody can deny that. And this is also
it still has influence today.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely. Still have influence today. It's because it lasted for 15 centuries. 15 centuries. If you want to count something from Augustus Caesar in 27 BC, because it's where basically they say that as an empire Rome began. It was before that, but was not really an empire. There were plenty of expansions. The Julius Caesar was before that, and all that. You can count those years, but let's assume from 30 BC, 27 BC, all the way to the fall of Constantinople in 1453 AD. That's 15 centuries. So that's the least. It could span even more than that if you want to count even the earlier years all the way back to the Punic Wars. So, however, counting these, which among these 15 centuries, only 3.5 centuries were pagan. The remaining 11 centuries were Christian.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
and if you even look further, look further at all the empires during that time. Okay, you had the Babylonians. They lasted for a few decades. You have the Medo-Persians. They lasted for a century and a half. You have the Greeks. They immediately dissolved after the fall of Alexander the Great, after his death,
Yeah.
into a tetrarchy. They called it a tetrarchy. Why? Because it was divided into four. Tetrarchy. Four. Yeah.
It's like that leopard in Revelations, 4 heads.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And even with that tetrarchy, and it was always bickering with each other.
Right.
The north and the south. I mean the Ptolemaic region, and also the Assyrian region.
Yeah, because they were all 4 generals. They were 4 generals that controlled all of them.
Yeah, absolutely, and then they became separate kingdoms, and always there were strife between them, and the corridor of this strife was always the Lebanon region and the Jewish region. That was the corridor of the strife between those two great nations, and that always the armies went back and forth, and it was definitely very troublesome for these regions over here. That's why I keep saying the Middle East is so important if you want to really study these empires. Sorry, go ahead.
Because, and this is something that, because you've went ahead and talked about this as well. But you need a structure there. And whenever you, like I said, you go back and look at Egypt. Egypt was blessed through Joseph. Now, you'll have these, secular people that'll be like, oh, none of these stories are true, none of this stuff happened or anything, but they can't disprove them neither. So we kind of got this conundrum where we're sitting here making these arguments back and forth where they're just never going to accept it or believe any of the stories in the Bible. However, with that being said, we can see this in principle, and we can see this here in the United States, because it doesn't matter, because I hear a lot of people sit there and talk about this. I've went into great detail about this. Yes, the United States is a Christian nation, and it doesn't matter what any of these loose equivocals that these secular people, it wasn't found on secularism, because secularism always leads into communism. It's always going to lead into one person rules. It's always going to lead back into tyranny. The sheer fact that our rights do not come from the government, they come from God. So does your freedom. So does your Declaration of Independence. It mentions God specifically in the Declaration of Independence. Now, we started off as a Puritan, pretty much. The Puritans came over here, and we pretty much started as a Protestant nation built on the views of Christianity. That was our structure, and this is a structure that we need. You need morality, you need principles, you need to go ahead and have a standard to live by, and unfortunately, this is where we're in right now in the United States specifically. You say how it affects your country as well. That,
absolutely. Yeah.
They're trying to move away from standards. And then they claim that, well, if they can go ahead and get rid of Christian standards, then somehow like I said, you put it in practice. Let's go ahead and look at what happened in China. Let's go ahead and look at what happened to Cuba. Let's go ahead and look at what happened to Russia whenever it was the USSR. Let's go ahead and look at, and if you don't want to believe that, you can look up liberal Missouri. And you can go look up William Braden. And you can go and look up his documents on liberal Missouri whenever they tried this little atheist experiment that, that they were going to ban religious ideology and all this other stuff that they were going to ban. Well, it just kind of went into degradation pretty much with no standard. And if you wanted to go ahead and move that up, that's the 1800s. What, do we evolve somehow? Well, you can go back and look at the Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone, also known as Chaz, in Seattle. So this is what happens whenever you remove all morality. So Christianity is the structure, regardless of what anybody will tell you. And whether you want to be a Christian or whether you want to be an atheist, ultimately that's up to you. That's a personal choice. I can't make you be a Christian, but understand, atheists, that all of this that you have right now, the separation of church and state, that's totally a Christian concept. That's not a theological, that's not a Babylonian concept. That's not a Roman concept. You know what I'm saying? That's the separation of church and state is intrinsically a Christian concept. So I'll go ahead and let you.
It is actually. I think it was taken a little bit too far in the West, the separation of church and state. Originally, the idea is Christian. Render unto Caesar what belongs to Caesar, and to God what belongs to God.
Right.
Sorry, there's a motorcycle passing way down below. Okay. So the thing is, however, in the West, it was really taken a step too far. If we recall about the history of the separation of church and state, it really began with the French Revolution, and it had the intention of ostracizing the clergy from the affairs of the government, because at that time the clergy was very involved in the government, in the French regime, in the French monarchy.
Well, see,
that was the intention at that time.
That's a concept that I was going to get into, and on like my little Rumble streams that I do about the coming, because to be honest with you, the American Revolution and the French Revolution were almost like polar opposites of each other. And I think that if you go back and look at the revolution here in the United States, really it was the Catholics, those people that they were trying to break away from, the clergy that you said that was interfering a lot in the French stuff. King Louis, Marquis Lafayette, a lot of those Catholic people were directly responsible, because without the Catholic Church, really, technically, we don't win our independence. Because you look at the Boston Tea Party and these rebels that kind of formed up, it was more like BLM or Antifa. They're not going to be able to do anything. But ultimately, we had a good supply of troops come in from France to come in, help from Spain, particularly because we didn't have a navy. They were helping us quite a bit achieve our freedom, which, like I said, will be...
Because the enemy of my enemy is my friend. They were enemies with England, who was not Catholic at that time.
Right, yeah. Mm-hmm. And so, but this is a good segue into your objective morality thing, because we wanted to go ahead and get into that.
Yes. I've already talked last time about how morality and truth are intricately connected, that it is impossible to prize them apart. I'm not going to really go into details with that, but it's worth to note that this is something that atheists keep on trying to do. They try to prize apart morality from truth, which is, however, it is impossible. And I've proven that over and over again. And I'm even publishing a new book, hopefully by end of this year, that will really hit on the mark on this particular topic of why morality, truth, and reality are intricately linked, and trying to apply that in our modern day societies. I find this of absolute importance in our day and age to reiterate on this value, because all the problems are arising right now out of this thing, because they want to really prize apart morality.
Are you there?
From reality, from truth.
Oh, sorry. So, you kind of froze up a little bit.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yeah, you froze up just a little bit. No, it's fine. You're good now. Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah, just it's like the little tiny freeze up. You kind of got stuck there for a moment, and I was like, "Oh, okay." But yeah, you know what? Did you see that thing that I sent you with the YouTube video that of a guy showing his butthole on YouTube? Yes. But I'll get flagged if I'm questioning something, which is the opposite, mind you. Little liberal people out there are claiming to be commies. That's the opposite of critical thinking. It's weird, because if I question the election results or something, they can flag that. If I question whatever kind of moral judgment of non-elected officials out there, in a series of a pandemic or something, then they'll go ahead and give me a flag on my channel and then take my channel down, regardless of how legitimate the claim is or not. But some dude can go ahead and do a full eagle, spread his butt cheeks open, and then show you his butthole on YouTube.
You know, critical thinking is a Trojan horse because what they do is they will tell you I'm a critical thinker, but they never criticize themselves. They criticize others. They never look at themselves. That's a Trojan horse. To be a critical thinker, you must first criticize yourself. Christ tells us, remove the plank from your eye before you can be able to look at another man's eye so that you can remove the speck. You see, as I was saying, this is something that atheists keep on trying to do when they set aside morality as something that is not real. I was having a debate with someone on Twitter a couple of days ago who was insisting that morality is something emotional, it's emotive. And this is actually one of the theories of moral nihilism. It's called moral non-cognitivism. When they demote the moral values into an emotional state instead of a rational state, they are effectively dismissing morality altogether. They are dismissing because that's just emotions. We don't care about emotions. We are rational thinkers. This is what we value. Oh, hold on. You value rationality? Well, that is a moral value. So you just rationalized by inserting morality, a moral thing, a moral value over your rational mind, and then you dismiss morality altogether. I mean, basically, you are self-refuting in this idea. So I went on a tangent there. But suffice to say for now that it is always in the best interest of a materialist to suggest that morality is not real, or at best, it is relative or subjective. It is in his best interest. This is one major thing that a Christian will never accept. And this is why a Christian empire, we're talking about the empire, the Christian empire will never accept under any circumstance. You see, the true church believes in the integral link between morality and reality. And the moment morality comes unhinged from reality, then reality itself will fall apart. Jesus said, I am the way, that is morality. I am the truth, of course that's truth. And then he said, I am the life. What is the life? The life is reality. That's what the life is. So the link between morality and eternal life is in Christ himself, making the choice of morality a very obvious one for a Christian. This is why Christians, and especially the early ones, as we have been talking about the early empires, they had very high moral values. That's what that's what built them up. And I'll tell you why. But first of all, in order to identify why, let's talk about morality. What is morality? I mean, really, let's define that, because it seems there are so many arguments on the subject. Really, what is morality? Because as us Christians, as we Christians claim, if morality is in truth, and truth is in life, then morality is the thing that gives value to truth itself. It's the thing that valuates, it gives value to truth. In short, everything that has value is a moral value. That's what value, even anything. I mean, okay, fine. I'll give you the first example. If God tells you, thou shalt not kill, okay, that's the sixth commandment. This is a reflection on the value that God has put in a human life. That's what it is, actually. That's a value. It's like paying for something. So what is the value of a human life? It's so high that you cannot dismiss it. You cannot kill it. You cannot snuff it out. Okay, I'll give you a simpler example now, so that we can really link these things together. Okay, let's think, for example, if you evaluate, now I'm talking about personal values, your own personal values, my own personal values, not the objective values. If you evaluate a gaming console, a PS5, okay?
Yeah.
You are willing to pay $1,000 for it. It's on the black market. There's a shortage of PS5s. I don't know if there's still or not. Sorry. So you are willing to pay $1,000 for it. Now, as for me, I really don't like to play video games. So I'm not even willing to pay $100 for it. Neither are you. Okay.
Yeah, so nobody on this side of the table is in the market, just to let you know.
Okay.
Have a 5,000 comments. I got work for 500. No, still not interested. Sorry.
Well, I'm not even willing to pay $100 for it because I really don't value it. I don't play video games. So someone who really values video games would be willing to pay $1,000. Someone else who's not willing to play video games will not even cough up $100 for it. So this valuation, even the monetary kind of valuation, is a reflection of your own personal moral values. You see?
Yeah.
So really, that's what morality is. People forget what the purpose of morality is. It's really the valuation of reality. That's what it is. So
right.
Let's link up these two concepts together. On the one side, we are saying morality is the reflection of reality, and if we as people tend to personally evaluate things based on our own preferences, then it is safe to assume that some people can value the wrong things. You see, now we are talking about right and wrong.
And yeah. Here's a concept because I wanted to fly because this was something that I had a discussion with one of your atheist guys. I said, okay, so if somebody steals your car, is that wrong? And then they're like, well, of course it is. You know, this is all subjective. It's all subjective. So stealing my car would be wrong. But what happened if the guy that stole your car valued your car more than you did because he needed it? Maybe he needed it to drive his kid to the hospital, or, you know, he needed it to get back and forth to work, and you don't really use this car that much. Then where does that value lie? So, you know, this is why, you know, we don't get to decide what morality is. A singular person, because nobody's going to go to the freaking church of Michaelism. You know what I'm saying? Nobody's going to go to the church of Wadahiism, you know, Wadahi over here. They're not going to go and say, well, you know, it's the same thing with, like, you know, the Branch Davidians, Koresh, and all that stuff, you know, where, oh, I'm the Messiah, go ahead and give everything to me. That's not how it works. You understand? Absolutely. And so whenever you start to build up these, I can claim that stealing your car is wrong, you know, objectively wrong, you know, but I'm not the judge of that, mind you, but it's wrong still. I can't forgive it, but I can't punish you for it, you know, but I can't forgive you for that. That's why we have a system in place to go ahead and make these decisions. Whenever you try to take out that objective morality, and then that's when you start to get tyrants, because then other people, the stronger people, end up forcing their morality onto you.
So true. And actually, this is the entire problem, because then you would ask, well, was Hitler morally right when he executed all those Jews? I mean, if we are going to follow the morality of a society, then he was right. Was Mao Zedong right in killing tens of millions of his people?
Right.
Well, yeah, of course he was right. Of course. Why not? Because he was the head of the state and he decided the morality of the state. Yeah. So how can you justify this? You cannot. You cannot justify it. We know that there is a morality that's higher than the human race. That is something that is transcendental to us. And we can only justify it objectively through God. This is the only way we can justify it. And this is why the atheists will always go in circles and try to throw red herrings, shift the goalpost, do all the things, then ultimately ad hominems, in order to avoid discussing and accepting that morality is objective. And because the moment morality loses objectivity, reality itself will lose its objectivity. And you will end up with all the problems of people even misinterpreting reality. Look at what's happening right now in the society. People cannot even identify what is real. I'm a man. Yeah. She is a woman. Oh, is he really a man? Well, they gender assigned him at birth. What the hell?
It's all a construct, right?
Yeah. I mean, they cannot even identify what is real because they do not identify what is moral. That is the problem. So there is a link. Guys, pay attention. There is a link between morality and reality. If you do not pay attention to this, we will get into more and more troubles as we go on. You see, look at what's happening to Europe right now. Right now in Europe, the average fertility rate is 1.35, when it should be 2.1 to be sustainable. To be sustainable, 1.35, that means it's way below the dangerous critical rate. Effectively, you are saying that Europe is going to be disappearing in 30 or 40 years. That's what you're saying, the European people. This is how dangerous this is. And they're just walking through life. Well, there's already overpopulation. No, there isn't. Again, you are misinterpreting reality. And look at what you're doing to yourself because you misinterpret reality. You make sex changes because you misinterpret reality. You destroy families because you misinterpret reality. That's what you're doing. So, look at look at how not just the Western nations, all the nations of the world, how they are struggling today with the woke ideologies, from feminism to LGBTQ to critical race theories to euthanasia. So why is this wokery? Let's call it wokery that is going on in the West so dangerous, and it's breaking up entire nations like we are seeing in Europe. It's because the woke ideologies are immoral concepts. Now we are talking about immorality, because if there is something called moral, then anything that is anti-moral, it's called immoral. Immorality always and has always heralded the destruction of empires. This is what we ultimately saw in Rome, though after a very long time. And this is what we are seeing today. Immorality is the
it's happened to every it's happened to every empire.
Yeah,
every empire.
Absolutely.
And we still haven't learned our lesson.
There is a moral fallout before there is a real fallout. Always morality precedes. And so really, when there is a moral build-up, there is a real build-up. When there is a moral fallout, there is a real fallout that follows. Look at how the United States was established. It was established on Christian values, and then the United States rose as a world power. Now the United States moral values have dropped. What will happen to it as a world power? You are really facing danger right now, and nobody can deny that as a really serious threat. We are all looking at the world, and we can all see what's going on with the other empires that are rising. So essentially, really, it's a clear-cut formula. The higher your moral values are as a society, the more your society will grow and thrive. The lower your moral values are, the faster your society will disintegrate and disappear.
Uh-oh.
Sorry, the electricity went out.
I got it a little bit. I took out the light, but it's daytime here, so I don't really need the light on. But no, this is a great segue to go ahead and get into the topic that I know that some of my people on YouTube really, really want to hear this topic. And this is one of them that you came up with, and that's the high value man. Because I know that I was like, yeah, that's definitely one that would appeal to my YouTubers. They kind of are into that kind of stuff. So, this is your topic. I'm going to go ahead and let you go ahead and start on it. And then I'll go ahead and fill in. Because I've noticed a lot of stuff, too, here on the internet about these women that are, and it's weird. And tell me if this is a coincidence or not. It's weird because I see these women complaining about, especially, like I said, that a lot of these guys tend to be left-leaning. And I'm just going to be real with everybody on here. You don't see a lot of masculinity coming from there. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying that they're completely 110% feminine, but it's like to a large degree whenever I look at these, because I've worked like in so many places over the past a year or so because of the, commie cough that I got to call it now because I'm on YouTube. But,
I love that.
Whenever, I've worked over various places, basically trying to get my income in order. I'm a dependable worker. Don't get me wrong. It's not because, but, just putting myself in a better position. I have moved from job to job. And to me personally, it's just some sort of obstinance with these people. It's stubbornness to a degree that these people refuse to grow up. And really, they don't understand that to a degree, I'm going to tell you a secret about socialism, and I'm going to tell you a secret about these communists over here that are, always want to explain stuff to you like and their little, terms and shit that they make up. The sure fact here is socialism 101, for, these guys, it appears. Because like I said, me growing up in an entirely different generation, I'm a Gen Xer. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I'm in my 40s. So, when we were coming up, it was all about teamwork, getting the job done, and then we all worked hard and we worked with each other. That way, when we were off, we could all hang out with each other because we cared about each other. We loved each other. That's not the way that the socialist mind works. It's all self-centered. And so, whenever I was working with these guys, like I said, I'm in my 40s. I'm in my mid 40s. Me and another guy could unload a truck and a half, and this is heavy product, mind you. Me and another guy, he was 57. I was 40. I'm in my mid 40s. And so we could unload a truck and a half before these younger guys that are in their 30s and in their 20s could unload half a truck. Well, actually, we could unload 2 trucks before. That's absolutely insane.
It's not actually far-fetched what you're saying, because obviously even the sperm count of the younger generation is becoming lower and lower. Something, Michael? That there was an old Roman saying when the parents used to scare their children. They used to tell them Hannibal is at the gates. That's what they used to say. Hannibal, the Carthaginian general. And he really scared the Romans.
It's like one of my favorite generals.
Yeah, he was a genius.
He was a genius. Yeah.
Yeah, and he almost got them. He almost really got them.
Oh, he could have taken them. And the thing is that you hear a lot about this in Revelations. The king of the south will make war on the king of the north. That's exactly what that was referring to. Well, because you look, he could have had Rome, but he was pulled back. You remember, it'll be pulled back before he was able. So I'm pretty sure that Bible verse and that prophecy referred to the conquering, because Hannibal really should have really, in all actuality, he should have taken Rome, because he was right there to take Rome.
The Phoenicians used to help the Persians. The Persians were the allies of the Phoenicians. They helped the Persians with all their wars except the wars against the Carthaginians, because they believed. Actually, it was true, because the Carthaginians were a Phoenician colony for a very long time before it became independent. So there was always this link between Carthage and Phoenicia. Anyways, I'm sorry, I'm digressing. What I want to say is, they used to say Hannibal at the gate. Hannibal at the gate, and this really spurred the young men to really train hard and become powerful soldiers. They really believed that always there is an enemy at the gate, and they really had to train very, very hard all the time. Otherwise, they could be overrun, and they never know when. This is actually our mentality in the East, in the Levant. Our Hannibal was ISIS. And I think in 2012, 2013, I cannot remember, they were at our gate. They were very close. And they were in the thousands. And our army was in shambles. They barely had enough bullets to repel them. And they had all the equipment was with ISIS, actually. American equipment. Very, very tough shit.
Which is enough. That's another subject in and of itself that we'll have to get into one day.
Exactly. I don't want to go there right now. But you can imagine what happened at that time. Now, of course, our army was able to repel them, and actually they did that magnificent job. And you see, this kind of readiness for battle is ingrained in our society, because our society is endangered. Your society is at ease. You are living the life of luxury. So it is very, very convenient for your men to become, I don't know what you call them, pansies.
Domesticated.
Yeah, and that is a shame. That is a shame. At least you still have your military that can really make tough men. Well, maybe it's going.
Dude, because I got out in 2012, and whenever I got out, there was still some of the old guard still left, and they used to always tell me, "Man, I'm fixing to get the fuck out because none of you guys are here anymore, and I don't trust any of these guys." So, like, our military personally had kind of had a mass exodus. This is why I say that, with the whole people over here on Twitter, which, mind you, that this generation really thinks that getting on Twitter and then making a ridiculous "I stand with Ukraine" is doing something, and it's not. Ultimately, you wouldn't be well prepared just looking at it. Now, I'm just saying this is from my perspective. This is from my perspective is that these guys are not well equipped right now to do the stuff that we could do. The vets, you have a lot of vets here that could be ready like that, me being one of them, So, I meant the potential is there. Don't get me wrong, that the vets are still out here.
But will it be there in 20 years?
Oh, kind of broke up a little bit. You still there? Can you hear me?
Yeah. I was saying, will it be there in 20 years?
There yet again, this is one of the things that I was trying to sit there and tell one of the other guys I was working with. I said, dude, one of the younger kids that was a hard worker, as long as he was with us. Like, this is one of the things that a lot of them don't understand because, like, the millennial generation, this is the generation between us and Gen Z. Gen Z is starting to migrate a little bit more towards Gen X. But a lot of the reason is because whenever Gen Z comes in, and they're busting their ass trying to do a job, and they see you slacking off, talking about how, oh, this is slave labor, and how you're too good for this, and we should strike, and they're trying to feed their family, they see that, they're not going to respect that. There's none of you that have a cult of personality in that whole entire generation to lead men. And that's just an inescapable truth. They want to see guys that are going to work hard, that's going to be dependable, that's going to be with them in the heart of the battle, unloading that damn truck. So this is why I have a higher hope for Gen Z after all of this confusion shit that the State Department decided that they were going to try to implement and force into these institutions. Gen Z has more potential. I see a lot more of these younger guys out there that are actually achieving higher levels of, confidence from their employers than the millennials. And then the millennials will cry, oh, well, why does I see they're discriminating against me? And it's all crying and how they can't get this and they can't get their Xbox. Then they try to come on. And I can tell you right now, this market right here that we're on right now, the social media market, it's going to go away pretty soon. You know what I'm saying? And you're going to be required to go out there. And then what's going to happen is you're going to have a guy like me, or you're going to have a guy like the Gen Z guy that busted his ass, won my confidence, and ended up in that position that you could have had. You're going to be working for that kid. He's going to be younger than you, but he's telling you what to do because you kind of slacked off your whole life. And like I said, this is one of the things that I told my buddy here on YouTube. I said, the issue is, and this is where it's going to become an issue, and it's going to become an issue real soon. You know what I'm saying? Is that, you increase the supply and then the cost goes down. The higher the supply, the lower the cost. You decrease that supply, then the cost goes up. Whenever you're deciding that you're going to go on strike at your little freaking whatever it is because you want $20 an hour, but you're not even putting in you're not even putting in $10 an hour worth of work. You know what I'm saying? You refuse. You can't do that. You know what I'm saying? It's hard enough to get you to show up. Exactly. So if you're going to, this is the issue that we're getting. Socialism, the idea of socialism is to put into the least amount of work, but you want to go ahead and draw the most as you can. You want to draw more than you're going to put in. And you're expecting the guys like me to continuously put in more so you can go ahead and get more. And this isn't how this works. This ends up, how you end up. This is why whenever you get communism come in, that's why millions and millions of people died. Because a person like me, I don't have to worry because I know I'll have value in a communist system. I wouldn't want to be in a communist system, and I am totally 110%. But if a communist took over and we became communist, I'm going to have some value. They're going to be able to get my production out of me. You guys that go out here, create your little YouTube channels, do your little news networks to go ahead and spread said communist propaganda, there's no use for you. You're expendable immediately. Once communism takes over, there's no need for you. So, whenever you're
to the gulag. In
right,
your
yeah,
case, it will be Alaska.
or yeah, you're going to be sleeping with the fishes. You
Mm.
know what I'm saying? That's always what happens. So, like, you look at it, and it's always these low value guys that end up pushing this stuff.
Yeah,
And I know
yeah.
that you wanted to go ahead and
Well,
expand on the why.
let's start since we are at the 45-minute mark. Let's start with the red pill. I think it's very important to talk about what is a high value man, what is a high value woman, and obviously we have to start with the red pill because this is the hot topic on the internet today. Because many movements have come out trying to describe what a high value man is. This has become, it's like a meme right now. Those are of the red pill community, the MGTOW, they call them men going their own way, and so on. Well,
Oh,
basically, sorry?
I was going to say you were kind of
Yes?
breaking up a little bit. You're good now.
Mm. These are basically nothing more than an allergic reaction to feminism that has wreaked havoc on the families of Western societies. The most illustrious name of these movements, you have Rollo Tomassi. I'm sure you've heard of him. He's called the godfather of the Red Pill movement or something like that. He has a definition of the high value man. What does he say? He says the high value man, he is the man that other men want to be, and other women, they want to sleep with, they want to bang or whatever. So this is what a high value man. So his definition of high value is hedonistic, basically. They want to be him, the women want to sleep with him. This is a high value man. You have another godfather. He's dead now. His name is Kevin Samuels. He said he defined 6 criteria for a high value man, and this person needs to attain these 6 criteria. They included making money. He needs to be continuously successful, at least for 3 to 5 years, have an income above $100,000. I don't know what exactly. He needs to have a group acceptance. He needs to have a strong network. He needs to have visibility. He needs to have utility. That means he should be useful by helping people out, whether it's from your family or your friends or in your company, your firm. You have to be useful. You have to have utility. Those are the criteria of a high value man, according to Kevin Samuels. So basically, you have Rollo Tomassi, who is hedonistic, and you have Kevin Samuels, who is materialistic. So you see, this is how they are trying to define what a high value man is. Now the problem is, if you are trying to define value from a hedonistic or from a materialistic sense, you are always going to fall short. It's a really very low key, very very low key attempt at describing something that is definitely much higher, much more transcendental. Because you see, the problem is, where's the problem of the red? They keep on complaining, the people of the red pill society. They keep on saying that there is no morality in the society. The women are promiscuous. There's a very high divorce rate. There's a very high body count on women, and they cannot pair bond. There is breaking up of families and the children, and forcing the men to foot the bill of alimony and child support and all the nonsense. So all of these are moral problems. They are caused by immoral actions from both sides, from men and women. If we're going to talk about the genders here, because
Right.
also the men are to blame, because the men, they loved feminism because it gave them access to free sex.
Yeah.
That was the
I
honey
noticed
trap.
that a lot. Yeah, they try to simp out hard. And like I said,
Yeah.
and this is the issue. And this is what I can't get across to a lot of these guys that become MGTOW, that tend to simp out, that go to the, because first off, I'm not looking for a feminist. I'll be honest with you. I'm wasting my time, especially me being in my 40s, sitting here saying, oh, well, this, woman decides that she's, this feminazi stuff. blames all our problems, but I'm also too old to go ahead and join the guys that are the same way. You know what I'm saying? So what we have is an issue here, is that, people try to label these as qualities of what you want in a person. But ultimately, it comes down to the concept of you. Do you feel comfortable? Because if you're not comfortable with that person, like I would have to get somebody that I would have a conversation with for years, build a rapport with, before I decided I was going to settle down and commit to that person. Because, to me personally, you should only do it once if you get married. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And now they've lowered the bar for these relationships, where now we've kind of got what my buddy Stephen Rose likes to hear all the time, the big nanny state, where the government's just going to take care of any kind of mistakes that you make. But this is also what adds into your, where your inflation and the food goes up and stuff. People need to take personal responsibility. And if you're going to look for a guy, or if you're going to look for somebody, they need to have those qualities. They need to have dependability, because these guys will sit there and like I said, and it just depends. Are you the type of person that's looking for a relationship? You're going to want dependability. You're going to want somebody who's going to work. You're going to want somebody who's going to take care of you. Don't get me wrong, but you're also going to want to be somebody that you're going to be happy with, that you're going to love, and that y'all are going to mesh well together. And if you don't build up that,
the term happiness is very volatile. I would rather not use it, because it's really misconstrued, and because always people who step out of their marriage, they say, because I want to be happy. So it's really become a cover-all term just to excuse anything. So
but that's like every term. You know what I'm saying? It's just like liberalism. People will hijack liberalism, and then they'll use it to go ahead and promote their agenda, which is communism for the most part. And it's like, it's the same thing. And, we've talked to enough of these atheists who will go ahead and hijack said terms and then use it to pass some sort of, as a coverall.
It's so true. It's so true.
So what is happiness to you?
The rainbow, which is a covenant by God, into the something that's sinful.
And I can tell you right now, those people that are like, I'm getting out of my marriage because I want to find happiness. Do you know what happiness is? That would be the first question. Do you even know what happiness is? Because you got into the marriage, clearly you were happy at one point in time.
They value hedonism, so their happiness is with promiscuity.
Yeah, that's pretty much it, and they're obsessed. And really, I don't really consider that happiness, though. I consider that an addiction. You're addicted to immorality. And, this is the issue that I can't get atheists to understand, because a lot of them, they indulge in their immorality. And they think that this makes me happy. So it doesn't matter if it's sex, drugs, rock and roll, whatever it is. You're going to continuously have to go ahead, and you're going to have to indulge that emptiness. It's an emptiness. It's not happiness. It's the illusion of happiness, but it's an addiction. And then you've got to keep on doing this. And it's never going to bring you anything but more heartache and more pain, where you're going to need more drugs. You're going to need more sex. You're going to need more drink. You're going to have to do it more and more and more. And this is why a lot of these people tend to end up being depressed. They have problems with anxiety. They have a problem with anger. They're very cathartic in nature, because once you go ahead and try to substitute God in your life for something that you think, oh, this is going to bring me pleasure that'll bring you pleasure for an hour maybe at the most. And then after that hour is gone, then it's on to the next thing. You got to fill that up back with more and more and more. It's going to, you get to build up a tolerance to it the first time. Then you're constantly looking, and that's how addiction happens. And so Christians are not pretending to be perfect. We're not perfect people. You know what I'm saying? Like I said before, everybody has a wicked heart, and this is according to the Bible. We're not perfect people. The idea of Christianity is to be better tomorrow than you are today. And I'm better today than I was yesterday. And it's a step.
But you have a path to walk. It's a clear-cut path that is set by Christ. But what is happening instead with the red pill community, who are trying to identify what a high value man is? They are not really going. What they are doing is they are adding to the fire of immorality, because they say, I want to be an alpha male. I want to be able to bang all the chicks that I want. I want to have the big yacht. I want to have my $1 million. I want to do this and do that. Basically, they are furthering the immorality. They are saying, even Rollo Tomassi he tweeted somewhere that one of the criteria is to get a snip for the man, to get a vasectomy. Basically, you're calling for the man even not to have children. I mean, so what's the point really when he's 70 years old, about to die alone, no longer able to have his thing stand straight without four pills of Viagra, and then is that his life going to be? Really, it's pathetic. It's really pathetic. This is furthering immorality and will ultimately further the pace of disintegration of the society. This is definitely not the way to go. Let me be clear about one thing. A high-value man will never be the cause of disintegration in his society. This means that the definition of high-value men by the red pill community is not true. They do say many things that are true. They know how to diagnose the problem quite well, but they are failing in proposing the right solutions. Everyone comes up with a solution that is more, harebrained than the previous one. It's really, really wrong. When you are walking down the path of immorality, you are adding to the fire. You are not putting it out. So really, what is a high-value man? If that's not what is it? What is a high-value man? What is a high-value woman? I'll tell you what. It's very easy. Are you ready? A high-value man is a man with high values. That's it. A high-value woman is a woman with high values. It has got nothing to do with money, with power, with sex, with networking, with utility. It has got everything to do with having high moral values. Period. That's it. A high-value man will have a strong moral center that is empowered by God and Jesus Christ, who is the archetype of mankind. He will, this man, if he is high value, he will desire a strong family with many kids. He will desire to protect his family with his own blood, because that's how Jesus Christ protected his church, with his own blood. He will desire to provide for his family with his sweat and tears, all the way to martyrdom. You see, because when a man and a woman, they get married, in our church, the Orthodox Church, when they get married, you know what they do? They actually put crowns on our heads. When I got married, they put a crown on my head, and also a crown on my wife's head. Now, actually, this is the beginning of the myth of a prince for a day, a princess for a day. This is where it started, actually. But what is this crown? This is the crown of martyrdom. Because, in the book of Revelation, you receive crowns. One of the crowns is the crown of martyrdom. They give you the crown of martyrdom for when you get married, because as you are getting married and tying the knot with a woman, you are martyring yourself to her, and she is martyring herself to you. This is what builds empires. This is a high-value man. Also, similarly, there are requirements for a high-value woman. She must also be submissive to Christ and her church, and she must receive Christ's body and blood every Sunday for the rejuvenation of her moral strength and her resolve. Same way with the man. He must also receive the body and blood of Christ, because he must rejuvenate, constantly rejuvenate. And what is that rejuvenation for? It's to keep your moral center strong. You need that. You need to stay strong. This is a tough pill to swallow, especially when you tell the woman you must submit to your man. We are in the age of, I don't need no man. We always hear that. I don't need no man. Well, okay, you need to submit. Why is the man supposed to submit to you and you will not submit to your man? I'll tell you, you say, but the husband does not submit to his wife. Yes, he does. He does submit to his wife. He submits his resources to his wife, does he not? He submits his wife. He as a husband, he needs to step in front of a bullet. He needs to take a bullet for his wife. If that is not submission, I don't know what is, really. A man has to submit his life and his resources to his wife. So why should the wife not submit to his leadership? It doesn't make sense. I mean, we are breaking the covenant between a husband and a wife. This is why all the problems are arising.
Yeah.
A good wife will always understand that her husband has already submitted to her. I mean, really, when a woman submits to her husband, this is what will make her high value. A woman rebelling on her husband, that's a low value woman. I mean,
Yeah.
avoid low value women. Those rebellious Jezebels, avoid them. You do not need them. Keep them aside, for recreational purpose. Well, no, I will not say that because I'm against
Yeah.
recreational use. Okay, but really, unless a woman learns to submit to her husband, she is not marriage material and should not be married to her. Submission is important by both parties. A man needs to submit his resources and his life, and the woman needs to submit to a man's leadership and to her family. She needs to sacrifice to her family. So remember, high value men are men with high values. It doesn't matter if he doesn't have two nickels to rub together. If he is high value, he will be strong for the woman and her children. This is the kind of man that will power through adversity and come out the other side smelling of roses. This is the man that will make a lifelong partner. And believe me when I tell you, high value men and women, they are worth their weight in gold. They are the ones who will be at the front line, fighting the good fight. They are the ones who will never quit, no matter how difficult things become. They are the ones that will always build their families. They will build their communities. They will build their empires, no matter what the circumstances are. These are the men and women of faith. This is what faith is. But keep in mind, it takes one to know one, Michael. It takes one to know one.
Yeah.
You need to become high value first. Then you need to come together with other people of high value. Do not be unequally yoked. That's what St. Paul says.
Right.
Know who you associate with and rebuild your communities on the right foundation. At the moment, the entire world right now is built upon the sand. And this sand will crumble. The rain will fall, Jesus says. And the floods will come. And the winds will blow. And the world will fall. And how great this fall is going to be. Amen?
Well, we hit our hour mark, actually. It seems like we can't keep these videos under an hour. We were going to go ahead and do this one at 45 minutes. Sorry, it went a little bit over. But yeah, I think both of us went on a little bit of a kind of a bit of a rant, both of us at one point in time in this video. But my phone's probably about 50%. So, we'll go ahead and wrap it up. You can go ahead and tell people, you know what? You could just look in the description, and the links for this man right here are in the description. I actually should say that way because that's where he is. But yeah, you should go ahead and follow this guy. Go ahead and get his book. What's the name of your book again? Go ahead.
The Liberal Geo-Wave. And I also have another book. It's called From the East and West, Traveling Among the Three Churches.
Yeah, I need to get the link to that book because I only got the book, the one that you had on Twitter.
Okay, I will send it to you.
Yeah, and so those links are in the description. Sorry, the StreamYard tends to eat up my phone, guys. So yeah, we're gonna go ahead and wrap it up. But y'all people tell us
as always. As always, yeah.
Yeah, tell us what you think in the comment section below. I know that some of you on YouTube tend to want to see the high, value guys. So Stephen Rosen specifically, go ahead. Travis, y'all can go ahead and ask questions about it. But anyways, y'all people like, sub, follow, friend, whatever the hell I'm on. Do the stuff the internet tells me to do to get over. And for now, I'm out.
Thank you.